talk, amongst each other, but it's just so much like talk all day long. And for me, you still got to remember that this is a young man, and there's a lot of pressure that comes up. I don't care how
Mm-hmm.
confident you are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pressure that comes from just constantly being compared, judged, talked about, and people are going to want to tear you apart. Just like, when they build you up and it's all beautiful, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to come for you. And when they come for you, it's all part of it,
Right.
and I think a lot of it had more to do with his dad than it did with him. And I just think that everybody has a part that they play in it. And like you were saying, there were kids that could have and should have, but they didn't go. Their name wasn't Shedeur Sanders, but there were kids that didn't get called, and they could have and they should have gone. Um,
Right.
and then I don't like to take anything away from other people like a Cam Ward, because that boy, is quite deserving. He was a
Mm-hmm.
Heisman candidate. Wasn't nobody talking, like you said, you couldn't even talk about him because they were so busy talking about
Right.
this whole situation. And then, but this kid still deserved that recognition and that time to shine, but he still kept going, and he's confident, and
Mm-hmm.
he speaks up, when he's spoken to. And, I remember seeing video of him and Shador out throwing, and they're friends. And he spoke his mind. He actually, I was surprised. I thought he was a little more quiet than that. He was talking some stuff amongst each other, and they were
Mm-hmm.
joking and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But he's confident, he's educated, and his daddy is involved and confident and educated, and his mama, and nobody was hating on them. So I think it sometimes it does boil down to personality, or whatever it is. Like you said, whatever we don't know about that transpired in phone calls behind the scenes or whatever. But Vanita, I know you got something to say about this. I need you. I want you
Well,
to,
I'll say this.
expound.
Yeah, this was the first time that I actually watched the draft from the beginning to the end. My
Uh-huh.
first real experience watching it, and what I thought it would be, and what it was. I don't even know if I would watch it again, to be honest with you, because something to me that I was so excited about, and excited for the young men that were being drafted and the families. I love the family stories. I love to see the excitement. I love all of that stuff. The way that they presented it to me, and like I said, my first time really watching it, it took all the fun out of it, because it was so much about, to me, tearing down Shador and Deion Sanders. It was all about tearing them down. To me, it was like, what about all the other part that was so good about the draft, and the talent that was there, and the things that people accomplished, and all that fun stuff, and the teams they were going to go to, and what kind of team we were going to, and what we could expect to see, and the expectations of the season starts, all this fun good stuff you're all excited about and
Mhm.
wanting to see. That was like, my goodness, it was almost like the thrill of it, like watching, like, oh, but he didn't go again. All it was just like so much. To me, it was so negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
so excited. I have on my bus jersey today. I had on my bus jersey then, and I
Mhm.
was just excited just for the whole experience of it all. Just the way that they went about it. I don't think that they should. To me, I think it was more about getting at his father, as opposed to looking at the talent and letting his talent speak for itself. It was more or less about what you may or may not like about Deion Sanders, as opposed to what his son had exhibited. And he earned the right to be there. To me, he earned the right to have the position that he was given, as far as supposedly going in the first round, because the film speaks for itself, the number speaks for itself, his performance speaks for itself. When he goes out there and he throws that ball, his daddy's name is not what makes those balls be accurate and point on, and the hard work that he had to put in, because him and his brother, both Shiloh and him both, to me, in my opinion, could sit back as rich, entitled kids and not do anything as far as pursuing football. Football is a very hard sport. I mean, it's
Mhm.
it's it's not for the weak at heart. It's very hard, and it people. I don't think people realize the time that they have to put into that, the things that these young men sacrifice, the things that they miss out on, that, say, a friend may be able to go to or whatever, because they got to be up early, they got to be out on the field, they got to work so many hours, and it's not just one
Mhm.
coach that you have. You got your speed coach. As for my son, you got your running back coach. You got your one that's going to do the footwork with you. You got your regular workout. You got all these things that you got to do. They're taking care of their bodies. Certain massages you got to get done. Certain treatments you got to get done. In your back. It's so much that they're doing
Mhm.
that. I don't think people realize the things that these young athletes really sacrifice to get to the level that they're at. And just to know that those, to me, not that they're the only two men that did it, but in the position that they're put in, they could easily sit back and just live on their dad's money. But for them to go out and work that hard and get the skill and do everything everybody else has to do, it seems like nobody even takes that in consideration. I don't think they're just sitting there being just entitled Deion Sanders kids that they, his Deion's name is not what made that football get into Travis Hunter's hand. Like, your son is a quarterback, so you don't got a good quarterback. I don't care how many receivers you got out there. If you ain't got a quarterback that can get you the ball, it doesn't mean anything. So it's a very important position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why
but I will add the reverse is true too. You could have the best quarterback in the world.
I know that's right.
Don't catch that ball.
I know that's right from the receiver mama, because it's going to be a lot of incompletions. Thank you very much.
Right. Or interceptions because they done tipped the ball in the air and now it's, So yeah, I mean, no, I think you're right.
You can have a good looking car and not have an engine and it ain't gonna go. So it is and that's why they call it a team, right? And it is a team effort.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the way that they went about the draft is just, I think they missed the whole point of it all, as far as what we should have been able to celebrate, the things we should have been able to be happy about, that I think it caused so much division. I think it shows so many ugly parts of it, because I mean, it is a business. I think a lot of things that were exposed that it just changes the taste in your mouth. Like, I don't know if you guys saw where the son of the Falcons coach did a prank call to him. Now, had it been reversed, and I'll say it right now so nobody has to guess, I am a Deion Sanders fan, a primetime fan, a Colorado Buffalo fan. So I'll just go ahead and put that out there now so nobody got to guess. But had it been, on the other hand, if Deion Sanders, one of his sons, had gotten into his iPad or whatever he claimed he got into, and got a number and called it a prank call to somebody that's being in the draft, whatever, we would never hear the end of it. It would be, he would have hell to pay for it. Heads would roll, people would be fired. And I mean, just for them to go that far and do that kind of thing, I mean, okay, yeah, their dad is a celebrity. They're still human beings. They're still flesh and blood. They still have feelings. Like, why would he do something like that and pranking and videotape? Like, to me, that's just so out of order. And that coach, that was so irresponsible. I mean, if you're any kind of person, any type of position, you don't just leave valuable documents around. That's just like working in the Social Security office and you got everybody's Social Security number out on your personal pad at home. You just lay it out on the table. That was, to me, that's just so ridiculous and just so careless, and just everything just seems to be so one-sided. I just wish that it could have been the way I dreamed it to be in my head. Like, oh my God, we're yelling, we're screaming, we're cheering, everybody's happy. Everybody's
I know, because that's what it was supposed to be.
Right.
It was like a soap opera of the worst kind.
Right. But you know what I feel, Vanita, everything that you said, totally, I'm with it. I validated, not that I need to validate it, but I do feel like it was already a circus before we got to the draft day, right? It was just always constantly that talking about, like Melva said, it was a Shedeur Sanders show when there were other kids who were also in the running, other kids who were out there working every day, whose families were supporting them and all of that. So that was already the setup. And then I wonder if it was the draft. It didn't seem to me like it was the draft people, right? Whoever they are, that created this monster. Like Melva said, it's the media. It's all of the things that have been said prior, because people have very strong opinions from the combine, whether or not Shedeur should have participated in the combine. If he wasn't going to participate, him being there, some of the things that he said, some of the ways that he answered questions, people have problems with that. People have problems, with when Deion was on like the Tamara Hall show, and he said, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to tell my son, no, you're going to go this way. No, we're going to go that way, because that's my son. And I'm going to always steer him. People have problems with that. It's the people, I feel like, not necessarily the draft situation, because in the draft every year we see that there are kids that should go, but they don't go, or they go in the later rounds when they should have gone in the beginning. And then when people say it's an attack on the Black man, I feel like we have that card, and that card is valid and relevant sometimes, but Cam Ward went. So it wasn't that we don't want a Black man to be a number one pick or in the first round, because there were several, a lot. It's just one of those things where I think it boils down to sometimes it boils down to an individual thing. And, we all have to own that. What part do we play in that? And if we're not, we don't cause all of this stuff, because some of this stuff is just downright ugly, terrible. Some of it is racist. Some of it is just stupid, ridiculous. But then we all do play a part. Like Melva was saying, nobody's accusing anybody of anything, but if I am your agent, then I'm handling certain things, and there are certain things that may go down. It's going to be my responsibility, or I have to be accountable for, because I have to handle them a certain way. I have to ask questions a certain way, or I have to present things in a certain way. So I think when we take on that heavy role like Dion has for his son, and just being a mouthpiece, for him, being his coach, and throughout his entire college career and all of those things, he is going to bear the brunt of all of those people, and everything that they have to say, negative as well as positive. You know what I mean?
And I don't think it's a Black thing, because if you take out all the Black players out of the NFL, there'll be no NFL. So
Right.
I doubt
Right.
they have a problem with that. But they do have a problem with Deion Sanders. And I don't think that his son should have to suffer the things he had to suffer because he's Deion Sanders' son. Now, when Peyton's dad talked his stuff and said what he wouldn't have them do to his son, nobody cared. Nobody cared about that. He was allowed, as a white father, to say that. But all the time, in my opinion, as Black people, we always have to keep our mouth shut, keep our head down, and stay in our place, stay in our lane. But other people, they can be protected, but we're always supposed to be unprotected, and we can't be Black fathers, or we can't be Black mothers. We can't love our kids or protect our kids the way other nationalities are able to do without being judged by it.